I, 33-year-old female, have been with my boyfriend, 36-year-old male, for a year. Yesterday, we went out to dinner to celebrate our anniversary. On the way home, I made a joke and my boyfriend understood it. Then, I gave him a love tap on the arm with the back of my open, relaxed hand. My boyfriend, in a very stern voice, says, "Don't you ever punch me." I reply that I didn't punch him and go to explain the love tap, but he interrupts me by restating in the same stern voice, "Don't you ever punch me." I was taken aback, shocked. My boyfriend has never talked to me like this before. I was too upset to talk the rest of the car ride back to his place. When we got to his place, I let him know that I was not okay with the way he had talked to me in the car for something I did, to my recollection, once. He brings up that during Memorial Day weekend 2023, while we were joking around with each other while cooking, I had hit him in the same manner. Love taps 3 times. He explained he was shocked by the first one, because I had not hit him before, and started to question the reason for the second and third hits. He didn't say anything that weekend, and decided that if I hit him again, then he would say something. Tonight just happened to be number 4. I replied that I felt it was unfair for him to react in such an extreme way for doing something for the first time in a while, 9 months, and for me doing something I had no idea that he didn't like. I also stated I did not like that he didn't tell me about not liking those kinds of touches from me the first time it happened. If he had told me, tonight would have never happened. My boyfriend has an old shoulder injury that has been more painful than usual recently. He says I hit him in a spot that was especially sensitive, which is why he reacted the way he did, justifying he had every right to say what he said and the way he said it. He also stated that seconds after he said what he said in the car, he was cooled down and over it and ready to move on. He also shared that he hoped I wasn't upset. I shared that this discussion was me letting him know I was upset. We continued to go back and forth, essentially saying the same things, just in different ways. When I noticed we were talking in circles, I said, "We may have to agree to disagree." However, my boyfriend kept trying to justify himself. This was the 4th time I hit him. His shoulder injury, he was driving, and the sternness in his voice was more from the surprise pain from my hit than directed towards me in anger. I decided to let him know that what I really wanted was an apology for the way he spoke to me. After some more back and forth about the same things, my boyfriend apologized for the way he spoke to me. I accepted his apology. My boyfriend gave me a look like he was waiting for me to say something. When I didn't say anything, he asked if I was going to apologize for hitting him tonight and in the past. I was floored. I didn't believe I should have to apologize. It was our anniversary, so I apologized. However, his apology has not made me feel better. I am still upset about last night and the way it played out, especially with it being our first anniversary. I honestly don't know what it is going to take at this time to make me feel better. My questions are, does anyone else give their friends and/or significant others love taps? Is my boyfriend overreacting by saying I hit him? Am I overreacting? Does anyone else give their friends and/or significant others love taps? Is my boyfriend overreacting by saying I hit him? Am I overreacting? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I lightly smack my husband all the time. He's a jokester and a tease and occasionally a prankster. So yeah, he gets lightly smacked. Pretty regularly. That's us being playful. It's 100% consensual. But if he had ever indicated in any way, whether via stern words or gentle words, that it was not okay, I would cease with the smacks right away and apologize to him. What I would never do is expect him to apologize for not wanting me to smack him. Comment 2. Some people enjoy playful horsing around like that and some don't. Your boyfriend has made it very clear that he does not like that sort of behavior. That means you stop. It doesn't mean you keep doing it and then tone police him when he gets upset. You can argue about if it's a punch or a love tap, but at the end of the day, all that matters is how he feels about it. Now, for the update, thanks for the comments on my last post. Things have escalated since then, and not in a good way. A couple of days after our anniversary, my boyfriend's shoulder pain got worse. He went to the doctor and found out he needed surgery. He blamed me saying my love tap must have aggravated it. I felt guilty even though I knew it was an old injury. But that guilt turned into anger when I found out he'd been hiding something from me. Turns out, he'd been seeing a physical therapist for months and hadn't mentioned a word to me. When I confronted him, he said he didn't want me to worry. But how could I not? We're supposed to be a team, and he's keeping secrets. It made me question what else he might be hiding. The surgery was scheduled for the following week, and he asked me to help him through the recovery. I agreed, but I couldn't shake the feeling of resentment. I was there for him, cooking, cleaning, and making sure he took his medication. But the atmosphere was tense. We barely spoke, and when we did, it was short and to the point. Then, one evening, I found a text on his phone from his ex. She was wishing him a speedy recovery. I lost it. I confronted him, and he said she'd reached out after hearing about his surgery from a mutual friend. He insisted it was innocent, but I didn't believe him. Why was she texting him now, after all this time? We had a huge fight. I accused him of still having feelings for her, and he accused me of being paranoid and jealous. It was ugly. I stormed out and went to stay with a friend. I needed space to think. While I was away, I did some soul searching. I realized that I couldn't be with someone who didn't trust me enough to be honest. And I couldn't trust someone who kept things from me, whether it was about his health or his ex. I went back to his place to talk. I told him how I felt, that I couldn't be in a relationship without trust. He tried to apologize, to explain, but it was too late. I'd made up my mind. I helped him find a nurse to take over his care, and I left. It was hard walking away from someone I cared about, but I knew it was the right thing to do for both of us. We were both in pain, but not just from the love taps. It was deeper than that, and it wasn't something we could fix. Thanks for reading. My dad cheats on mom and wastes my college fund on his girlfriend's business. So I send a petty card with $5 for his new baby's birthday and watch his world crumble. So my parents, 49-year-old mother and father, divorced when I was 13, my dad started seeing his girlfriend, 43-year-old female, slightly before the divorce. I was not aware of this. He moved in with her, and then the divorce happened. I don't hold it against them as it was the best decision they could have made. My mom was unstable. I thought I'd live with my dad and grandparents. But my dad moved in with his girlfriend. I didn't know this at the time. I found out years later that they were living together all along. I always thought he was traveling for work. I knew my dad paid a significant amount of alimony to my mom. So I just cut down my demands. I was an extremely spoiled only child. I had everything and better, and then I just let that go. It was a bit weird, but I thought I was helping my father, but while I cut back, he showered his girlfriend with expensive gifts and iPads and iPhones and expensive vacations to Dubai and Vietnam and God knows where. They'd always been so secretive. I have not been on a single vacation since my parents divorced. Sorry, I don't want to sound entitled. Now it's okay. I've grown up. Financial difficulties have grown since the pandemic until last summer, when we realized we're no longer in debt, but can live somewhat comfortably, not lavishly, no wants, but all needs. That was very comforting since the last few years had been very hard on my grandparents and me. We moved and things just got better. Then, my dad announces at 48 and 42, they are expecting a child, an expensive addition to the family. My father already couldn't afford my college tuition, my uncle paid, and now they got another one to take care of. I did not take it well. It was the stupidest decision ever. And they hid it for like 6 months. Now that the baby is here, I have met it like 3 times. My grandmother goes over every day to help out, but I can't get myself to go to their house and spend quality time and act like a big sister and be all, oh, what a cute baby. Everyone expects me to be happy, but I am indifferent. Nothing has changed in my life, except that my dad is not just my dad. And he wasn't around before, so it's not like it's a big difference anyway. His selfishness baffles me. I don't want to see him or his wife or the baby. Period. How do I proceed? I can't cut them out, but I'd like to live a detached life without disrespecting them. How do I make it clear that I cannot step into the role they expect me to take on? Are my feelings justified, or am I being a jealous juvenile? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Honestly, you sound like you're stuck in child mode, not like a 21-year-old. College tuition being paid by your parent is a privilege, not an entitlement. The fact that your uncle still paid it is something you should feel incredibly lucky for. Most people have to work and pay it themselves. You talk about how we are out of debt now, meaning you and your grandparents. So really, your grandparents likely foot the bill and you're along for the free ride. You sound jealous and bitter, and maybe you should be, but not because your dad was a crap dad, but because you have it harder or more difficult than others, or even most of the planet. Even with the unstable free money from dad, you sound more privileged than most. And none of this is a baby's fault, and it's also not the baby's fault if he manages to be less crap of a dad to said baby during its life. Just move on and stop hanging around for the scraps. Make your own life and money. Comment 2. Let's be honest here. Your father abandoned you. He left you, and you had to live your life without him. He never regretted it, never asked for more until he had another child. And now you are important. They don't want you there as the older sister. I bet they also want a babysitter. Don't talk to him about this unless he talks to you. Live the way you are right now. You can live a detached life from his, just like he has been doing all this time. If he comes to ask why you are not that involved, remind him that you lived away from him all this time. You were not integrated into his life, and so the baby doesn't feel like your sibling. If he argues that family helps family, ask him where he was all this time, where he left you when he was making a family with his new girlfriend, and don't help financially. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around for the update. So last week, my dad's girlfriend, let's call her Miss Fancy, had the nerve to throw a lavish first birthday party for the baby. I mean, a full-blown circus in their backyard with clowns, a petting zoo, and a mountain of gifts. And guess who was expected to show up and play the doting big sister? Me. But here's the thing. I found out something that made my blood boil. Turns out, my dad had been funneling money into a secret account for years. Money that was supposed to be for my college fund. And where do you think it went? Straight into Miss Fancy's pocket for her little business venture that never took off. I stumbled upon this when my uncle, bless his soul, let it slip during a family dinner. He thought I knew. So I confronted my dad. It was ugly. Accusations flew, and he had the audacity to claim it was all for the family. What family? Certainly not me or my grandparents. The argument ended with him saying I was ungrateful, and me storming out, swearing not to set foot in that house again. But karma has a funny way of coming around. Miss Fancy's business? It tanked hard. All that money down the drain, and with a new baby and a party that cost more than some people's yearly salary, they were in the hole, deep. My dad came crawling back asking for help. He needed money to keep the house, the same house he kicked me out of for his new family. I could have laughed. I should have helped, maybe. But I didn't. Instead, I watched as they downsized, moved into a smaller place, and sold off their fancy cars and gadgets. My grandparents and I were doing okay. Not great, but okay. And that's enough for me. As for the birthday party, I didn't go. I sent a card with a $10 bill inside. Petty? Maybe. But it felt right. I'm not playing their games anymore. I'm done being the sideline child while they play house with their shiny new toy. Thanks for reading. My husband goes limp and blames eye contact, but I find his dirty underwear and discover he's been texting an old flame. So I dump him and tell him to fix his own insecurities context. Yesterday, my husband and I started to have intimacy. Everything was going well until he randomly stopped and went soft. He claimed it was because I was making eye contact. Isn't that a good thing? And that he was too self-aware and that was the issue, without explaining further. I didn't want to make him feel bad, so I let it go. I received a text from him this morning explaining a bit more. Sorry about yesterday, I need to get out of my head. I just know I suck at everything, and being self-aware is a problem for me. I have convinced myself 100% that You don't enjoy intimacy with me, or you're thinking about someone else, or I'm not enough, or I don't know what. But I just feel like I'm embarrassing myself by trying to have intimacy because I'm aware of it. I'm sorry, I need to work on it. Again, I shrugged it off and basically told him that none of that's true. He is in his own head, and I'm glad he recognizes it's something he needs to work on. Fast forward to about an hour ago. I was getting ready for bed and glanced down to see his underwear on the bathroom floor completely soiled with dry finish. Corn isn't something that usually bothers me, but I'm especially bothered right now because of the experience we had yesterday, followed by a text claiming that it happened because he doesn't think I like it or thinks I'm imagining someone else instead of him. I'm hurt and really sad. His actions make me feel like I am the issue and unattractive to him, so he has to resort to someone else. I don't understand how we could have that experience yesterday, and then this morning he tells me it happened because of the thought of me being with someone else, and sometime after that, he pleasures himself to someone else. If he was being truthful about how he felt, why would he display similar behavior to what he's accusing me of? Do I have a right to be upset? And if so, how do I bring it up? I feel sick to my stomach, and I can't force myself to lay next to him in bed. Looks like a couch night for me. Edit. Here's my response to his text, since some of you are so concerned about how I responded. I don't believe you suck at everything, and none of that other stuff you said is the truth. I'm sorry you feel that way, but it isn't self-awareness. You are just being self-damaging when you tell yourself things that aren't true. I love having intimacy with you, and I would do it every day if you'd let me. It feels really good for me, and it connects us. I'm glad you recognize this and are working on it. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. If he has those confidence and up in his head issues, then Corn is stress-free. He was probably just still aroused and took the route to satisfy himself that didn't put pressure on him to satisfy anyone else. I would not overthink about the Corn. His low self-confidence and being all up in his head is unfortunate, though. Maybe therapy could help. Comment 2. You have the right to be mad and sad and frustrated. You need to talk to him, and he needs to be honest with you. That being said, if this is the first time this has happened, don't talk to him with those feelings. You need to be more neutral with how you approach it. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around for more of my ongoing saga. So, after the whole underwear incident, things got even more twisted. I tried to shake off the feeling, but it was like a bad taste in my mouth that wouldn't go away. I decided to confront him about it, and that's when the floodgates opened. He confessed that he'd been feeling inadequate for months, not just in the bedroom, but in every aspect of our life together. He felt like he couldn't measure up to my ex, who had been a part of my life years ago. I was floored. I hadn't even mentioned my ex in ages, and here he was letting this ghost come between us. I reassured him that he was the only one for me, but it was like talking to a brick wall. He was so deep in his own insecurities that nothing I said seemed to make a difference. It was heartbreaking to see him like this, but I was also starting to feel a bit trapped in his cycle of self-pity. Then, just when I thought we might be able to work through it, I found out he'd been messaging an old flame of his. Nothing explicit, but enough to make my blood boil. He said it was nothing, that he was just seeking validation, but it was a slap in the face. Here I was, trying to be understanding, and he was out there looking for attention from someone else. I was done. I told him that if he couldn't trust me in our relationship, then maybe we shouldn't have one. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to say, but I couldn't keep being dragged down by his issues. He begged me to reconsider, to give him another chance, but I could see the pattern now. It wasn't just about the intimacy or the insecurities. It was about him not being able to value what we had. So I cut him off. I told him he needed to sort himself out on his own because I couldn't do it for him. It was a tough decision, but I felt a weight lift off my shoulders as soon as I said it. I'm not sure what the future holds for us, but right now, I need to focus on myself. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.